First question, PD3 says, are raids intended to stay scaled after people leave? He says, currently people are bringing in 30 plus people and then kicking them to finish the raid with 7 people to give them better loot.
So, if people leave the raid halfway through, we do not intend it to get easier. The difficulty of bosses in there and their stats is determined by the party when it begins. And if... Jed? I don't know what you're doing there. And if people leave, then the party will just have to deal with whatever's there without them. However, what we've changed in today's update is the points multiplier. That also was set by how much the raid had been scaled up. And the points multiplier can now scale itself back down again if people leave during the raid. So kicking people out at the start of the raid is no longer going to give you such a rewarding experience as you had before.
Fantastic. A lot of raids questions today. Robert says, can using points in raids for eating food and potions be based off of each individual's rather than as a team? He says, currently in free-for-alls you can boost your points by spam drinking potions and capping the points for your team.
If we do change that, what we'll get is a situation where the best way to raid will be for every single person to catch their quota of fish and make their quota of potions and then have their friends consume them all quite laboriously and rather artificially as well, because not everyone's going to be taking damage at that kind of rate and going back to get your fish as well as his fish and his fish and her fish. I'm not sure that's actually going to be a good way for people to raid, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if we were to change it, there'd be an issue where, let's say, just for argument's sake, there's a pool of 10,000 points usually within the group. If it's instead 2,500 for each of us, if I only get 2,500 and you guys don't participate, in eating your food or doing stuff that would regularly accommodate to those points, essentially what's just happened is we've nerfed the amount of points you can get inside the group because not everybody's doing everything. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
Okay. So, yeah, it's definitely not the best solution, I'm afraid.
I agree.
Right. Marvin says, why can't the charged Dragonstone jewelry scroll charge rings of wealth?
Does it not?
No, because they're unique to the wilderness, and the Fountain of Rune does it. Mm-hmm. And we did not want to take the wilderness-only feature and make it available from something else quite so easily.
Yeah.
It's a valuable reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's inconsistent. On the other hand, wilderness content is in relatively short supply. Reasons to go in the wilderness should be protected, so we've kept that one special.
Cool. Galaxy says, when taking on the Inferno, will it be required to switch between all 3 points in the combat triangle? If not, would you be able to make that happen?
At this point, that can easily still happen. I mean, a lot of that comes down to the actual balancing and the statting of the defenses of the creatures. For example, like we could give it really high range defense or really low range defense. I mean, it's not inherent to the design, but you will at least need something that's long distance.
Right.
That can do long distance.
The concern
Whether you take melee as well, we'll see.
The concern is that they just don't want it to be an entire just blowpipe cave, right?
I suspect that won't be the case.
Yeah. Making higher range defense means maybe you could still range it, but you need a powerful armed crossbow.
Let's talk about things like the lava creature's water spell should be fairly effective and that sort of thing. So I expect magic will have more of a prevalence than it did in the fight caves, for example. And I'd hope something's good with melee as well. So there'll probably be things, I mean, as with fight caves, even back in the day before blowpipe existed, the best way to go and do the fight caves was melee. That didn't necessarily mean people went and used melee, because range adds a level of safety to it that you could step back and safe spot the creatures. So they all have different benefits. We'll see. At this point, I think it's still too early.
I'd love to see the crystal bow make a return.
I'd love the crystal bow to be better, yeah.
All right.
And there may be some reason to bring a bulwark in there.
Yeah, that's certainly possible.
It's relevant because when we designed the thing, we said that we'd bear it in mind when we were making future bosses. And
where are we here? Matt Smiler says, can something be done about the dragon axe? 42k is ridiculous. I checked his account. He's only got 1. It's a valid question.
Okay, then we'll give a real answer then, I guess. In my opinion, obviously, things happened with the Dragon Axe on Old School when I wasn't here. The Smouldering Axe, of course, exists and uses Dragon Axes to charge it, correct?
It can do. It's not the only way of charging.
You can also charge it with the Smouldering Stone, I
Yes.
believe. But most people tend to combine the Smouldering Stone and use it as a charge. Outside of it being a charge item, like it already has a consistent drain, I'm generally quite surprised that it has stayed at such a low price. It should theoretically have went up. That's not to say that like in the future there's no reason that we couldn't potentially find another reason for a Dragon Axe. However, you know, if we were for whatever reason to make a tier 65 axe, for example, would people expect the Dragon Hatchet to be used?
I think the issue is that there's so many people doing Dagonoth Kings.
Yeah.
It is one of the most popular things to go to, especially because it's really good for Slayer as well.
So things don't come out the game that fast.
No.
Oh, we just gave you a second room of them.
It's something that, I mean, even before we give the second room, every single world is constantly full. I think that's the issue there, and there's not much more we can do than make a Dragon Axe useful for woodcutting, and it already is the best. It's what you want.
Yeah.
So we're limited in what we can do. I'd take suggestions for how we can improve the situation. But
New ranged throwing axes.
Like a Dragon Throne Axe of some kind?
Yep, and you can't pick them back up. Right?
I know, yeah.
Okay.
All right. We had a sort of bug like that with the blowpipe when it first came out, where in your POH, if you tried to use it at the dartboard, it didn't just throw the dart at the dartboard, it threw the entire blowpipe and you lost your blowpipe. I mean, we tried to deal with a player who'd gotten into that state. Thankfully, it was very rare.
No one could use that dartboard. We have a dartboard in the office now, which is cool. Had a refurb recently, which is pretty sick.
Raccoon says, can the upcoming Mage Arena update give high-level versions of God staves that has their respective spells built in and can store runes?
You know, I do like making staffs like that.
me too.
Well,
Staffs?
staves, whatever you will.
Staffs. I like it when you can use the runes on it and save the inventory space, because obviously one of the main downsides of range isn't just the runes, but also the inventory space that you're using, right?
We have a rune pouch for that.
We do have a rune pouch for that, however. I also think that maybe providing a higher level staff might not be the way to go about it. I don't know if a free something would probably have to go out, like maybe a cost of coins, similar to Trident.
Well, I mean, it depends if we make this a challenging experience.
That's true as well.
As
Depends on
right
the
now,
difficulty.
it's not challenging. You
Yeah.
just go in there and spend some money on runes.
Well, if it's giving you better combat abilities, I don't mind there being an ongoing cost to using the thing once you've acquired it in the first place.
Yeah, they're
Not
expensive
unreasonable.
spells as well, so worth noting.
I think if we ever do a Mage Arena 2, it's likely to be more involved than the first one. That's for sure.
It's more than just go here and cast
Yeah.
this that many times.
Especially if we're talking about maybe offering like a best in slot magic hit from it, because currently the best in slot magic hit, you go there, you basically just get it for free.
Also, the Mage Arena mini quest that you do, or mini whatever you call it, I think we called it a mini quest for the
We did.
achievement things. The whole, now let's go there and fight Collodion. Now he's got more legs. Now he's got fewer legs. Now he's got no legs. Now he's dead. Well, it's we could probably make something a bit more involved than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Skog says, can you improve the forester NPCs in the woodcutting guild? For example, make them chop the trees with us like the NPCs in the Motherlode Mine.
Oh.
Well, the ones in the Motherlode Mine do not make the veins despawn ever.
Yes.
And I'm willing to bet the player does not wish.
That would be funny. You're chopping a tree, then an NPC comes up and starts chopping it.
We were talking about woodcutting like a couple of weeks ago when we were at the pub. We were talking about like what the odds of the tree falling actually are, and it's like a 1 in 8. So if you had like 2 of these NPCs on it, you've effectively like halved your chance of getting more logs from that tree, which is kind of weird. I imagine it would work like Motherlode Mine, where it wouldn't actually.
The player would be mad to ask us for the other version.
But you'd feel like you're less lonely. So.
Yeah, it would feel like, you know, you're really messing them about when you make the tree go down.
They shouldn't contribute to it depleting.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So
It'd be a nice
obviously they
feeling,
wouldn't, I think it'd be interesting.
What, would you just have a hunt on them or something? How would it work?
That's how the NPCs in Motherlode do it.
I mean, you could make it a bit more of an interactive experience that this guy knows which tree's best to cut, and when he's chopping it, there's
Can he
an
level up?
extra chance of you getting a log, that sort of thing.
Well, what we could do
But
is,
I don't think it particularly would feel nice into it.
it wouldn't be a very good use of the dev time, but we would be capable of making them think they're getting logs, even if they're not contributing to depleting, and no wood changes hands, and then they light a fire.
Oh, I was hoping that like you could track the amount of logs and track experience that they have, and talk to them and see like how much experience they have.
Yeah, we could do that. It would be a little bit like that dude outside the Tower of Life, though, who's he's pumping
Yeah.
the guy who lifts.
And then you see one of them get the pet.
Oh, we
All
could
right.
totally do that. I actually really like that.
I just really don't think that's the way we're going to choose to spend the time.
Yeah, it's true.
Quite. Maybe this one will be worthy of our time. Free to play says, can free to play have the ability to change names with bonds?
It's not a call we can make, but actually his in-game one can't be used by them.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you meant allowing to have the bond give you the ability to change the name. In game, yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Can they do it on the website?
Yes, they can.
Yeah, I think we'll have to leave that one to the web team and the support teams.
Okay. Aaron says, can you add a warning when trying to remove the Slayer helmet in areas where you need it? No,
You mean
pay
like
the
if you're in the
price.
Aberrant Spectre's room and you decide to take your clothes off or something and you're going to get ganked?
Do we go and add one to the nose peg and all the
That
others
means
as well?
pruned. I assume so.
Chat full of nose. Would this pass a poll? Doubtful.
I quite like the humour of people running inside of Aberrant Spectres and having their stats instantly drained when they get hit by them. But
Now, if you accidentally take your Slayer helmet off, you've taken it off.
yeah,
Well, we could do it, but it doesn't look like they want us to. And I confess I wasn't in a massive rush to try and stop you clicking on things lest it be not the one you wanted to click on.
You get a warning in some of the places already before you enter.
Yes, like, mind you, we don't have the same message as CRS3, but the Aberrant Spectre room in their Slayer Tower, when you try to open the door, if you don't have a nose peg on, the message you get says, there's a nasty smell in there, you'd better not enter without protection, which I wrote in all innocence before somebody went and reinterpreted it.
Right.
I think this is for the best. This is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got some questions from the chat. New guy says, can the confirmed deposit ores box be removed from the blast furnace? Ain't nobody accidentally putting their ores in.
Well, I'm sure they don't accidentally walk all the way up there and accidentally put their oars in. There's nothing else they could possibly want to do.
Sorry, I just like the way he typed it.
Yeah, I was confused for a second
Ain't
about
nobody
what
got
on
time
earth
for
was
that.
being asked.
Well, I
But,
think
yeah.
I understood it because I saw it on the forum thread earlier. I answered him there too.
Jed will prefer the poor grammar questions, so ask away.
Is it a centralised system, the deposit boxes?
I think he's talking about putting it in the blast furnace, is he not?
Oh, bugger, yes. Okay. I wouldn't get rid of that. I was doing Blast Furnace last week, and it was a bit weird that I had to hold down my one. However, if the reason is because people are accidentally deleting their coal bags, that's no longer a problem because we fixed that today. If the reason is just because it's just a general irritant, we can look into it as well. I think that's fine. It is quite annoying.
Okay. Another question in the chat asking to touch upon the boxing thing. So, for those of you who are unaware, I sent out a tweet yesterday saying we have disqualified a few players for boxing in the Dead Man tournament, as there have been many people sending in evidence, which we then follow up on our end and say, yep, this guy's doing that, which we've said for quite a while now is against the rules, multiple seasons at least. People basically gaining an advantage, an unfair advantage at that, and so we don't ban them. There's a lot of people saying, oh, they're banned, but they're still on the high scores. They're not banned. They're just disqualified from the tournament, so they can't win that 10K rip. But yeah, don't box. There you go. If you see anybody doing it, go ahead and report them or just send footage to me and we can verify and look into it and do something about it. All right, moving on. Veckel says, can you add a lobby feature to Old School similar to what RuneScape 3 has?
I'd love one of those.
I'd really like a lobby.
I would imagine that's a fairly big thing for the engine team to do, and there's a lot of things I'd rather they did for us than that. I'm sorry, but heck, I'd take a clan
It's a
system over
massive
that.
job, and as far as I'm aware, you don't like the lobby existing because of it is a very complex system to tie into with everything else.
It is rather, and yet it does so many things so much nicer than we can do without it. Like, I had a player the other day saying, can you take us back to the message of the week screen if we're AFK for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
It's not a lobby.
Well, no, he thought it was a lobby. It looks like a lobby. Well, it looks like a big black screen with words on, but
You're in game.
yeah, I said I could make that screen open for him, but it wouldn't do him any favours because he'd still be in game just with a message of the week.
That's why we don't
I
make it
suppose.
show up in the wilderness, because you're actually there. So we don't want your screen being hidden.
I thought we actually did make it show up in the wilderness because they said no when we offered to change it.
Did we?
I don't
can't
remember changing that.
We changed it somewhere. PvP
we
worlds,
offered
maybe?
certainly, yeah. We certainly offered in a fair few places, and there was a surprising amount of negativity about that one.
There's a surprising amount of no to lobby. I mean, it's not too shockingly unsurprising. Like, as nice as a lobby is as well, it isn't super old school, is it? Old school is you log in, you get this play now button with this cool message of the week at the bottom.
Yeah, and
you
the chance
play.
of somebody killing you while you're looking at
To
it.
me, if we did a lobby, I think it would look fairly similar anyway.
I think when before it existed, had they had the ability to add it, they would have still. It wasn't necessarily that it wasn't old school. I mean, it's not in-game content. It's just kind of a nice usability feature.
Well, in terms of your hopping worlds, you want to log out for a few minutes, but you don't want to have to retype your password when you want to log in again.
Yeah.
I can see quite a lot of reasons why you might genuinely find it beneficial, especially the bit where you're in-game looking at the message of the week. That's not helping anybody.
I think there's another project going on that might supply that need anyway.
Oh, good.
Hopefully.
Okay, let's move on then. Where are we at here? Misery says, can you improve the chop/mine times and decrease the points accordingly in raids?
Are we talking about the shortcuts? Or are we talking about something
Yeah,
else?
it's a really interesting
that's
one
what
because
we're
I think people would like to use the shortcuts and they don't so much mind that they give points, they just want a faster shortcut.
So I imagine if you were to remove them quicker, we would reduce the points. I'm not too sure everybody would be super excited about that. You're losing point potential. It's also worth keeping in mind that the shortcut wasn't necessarily, at least to my knowledge, it wasn't meant to be a faster way of getting through the room. It was meant to be a faster way of, if I am somebody who might die from these scavids, I can run past them without being hit, right?
Right.
If
Partly that, but also I did find in playtesting before launch that if I died and had gone quite a long way back, it was quicker for me to go through the shortcut than to walk around the very windy paths they have.
I mean, we could do it similar to the... Isn't there a strength one with like a bow that you can push?
That one has the advantage that since it takes away the entire blocking and does not have to leave a stump for blocking reasons, you auto-navigate through the place where the boulder isn't.
Yeah, it's also instantaneous though. I think you click and...
Yes,
It
it is on the
goes.
other hand a lot more prone to needing a lot more of the team to come together to make it go.
Yeah.
Which is not the case with the woodcutting because you can genuinely grind on that for a long time and deal with it yourself.
If people are fine with slightly less points being offered inside,
I don't think they give that many points anyway. I think
Like,
Also, it's a one-off.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
can't
it's
grind
something
on
you
it
would
forever.
pull, right? We would pull
it would
this, or-
probably have to be pulled with
Okay.
the reduction in points, but
So you'd have your say. I think I have no idea which way that one would go. 2147 says, can we have the ability to own more than one rune pouch? Saying perhaps recolor one.
So I'm pretty sure the data is stored on the player rather than on the item.
Yeah.
If you had a second one, you'd find the exact same runes in it, and they go up and down together. It's like having a second panel where you can see your inventory. It doesn't change what you can carry.
Yeah.
It just shows you the same thing in two places.
Right.
answers that. I think the reason they want two is for that reason, that they can have a second set of runes in it. Not to use both at once, but to make it convenient when they go to one boss and then another boss, which requires different runes.
I wonder if we could do anything about the usability for filling and emptying it.
Maybe that's something we can target. I don't recall the exact flow of how that...
It's basically nice.
It's a bit like your bank where, deposit X, withdraw
Yeah.
X, that kind of thing. If, on the other hand, the menu for the rune pouch allowed more drag and drop.
Yeah.
It's a nasty piece of code in there, by the way, but I wouldn't rule it out. I wrote it quite late at night a long time ago and don't remember the details.
I think it's already able to be dragged and dropped.
Oh, did I do that?
I'm pretty sure you did. Good job, Ash.
I remember I tied into it. I tied into it for the ZMI, and that wasn't too hard.
Oh, good.
All right.
Can we ask that one that's on the chat? Because we've got a good response for that one.
Sure. Can you please make mummies in PP not aggro to other players? It's just a form of griefing now.
So
PP.
PP, haha.
Pyramid plunder for anyone
Yes,
who
for
doesn't
pyramid
know.
plunder. So can you make the mummies in pyramid plunder not aggro to other players? So people never open that sarcophagus because obviously it annoys other players. However, we did actually fix this a couple of weeks ago inside of our internal test streams. We fixed it, and then we kind of realized we should pull this one. It was a relatively larger problem. So it's ready to go if you guys want it, and we will likely poll it in
I
the
could see it
future.
getting on the next poll.
Yeah, so the next poll that comes out, we'll ask you guys, and if you want it, it's already done. If you don't, I don't believe it took too much of your time.
Well, I got to do some tidying up of the code anyway, so
Yeah.
we win either way.
Yeah. I can't see
Fantastic.
why people wouldn't want to vote for it. It's annoying.
The swarm has never attacked other players.
Yeah.
It's annoying
It
that the
always-
mummy did in the first.
It always helps if you're looking to pull something saying it's already done.
Yeah.
Sometimes the concern to vote no is, well, I'd rather your time was spent elsewhere. But if it's literally already done, it's a tough argument there.
Yes, it might beg the question why we did it, but hey.
Yeah.
RSNU says, can we have inventory check and private chest check in raids? Some people are annoying and hide supplies.
I'll be up for that. Just inside raids, though, and you'd have to be okay with the idea that while you're in there, other people in your party can look through your possessions.
That's cool. I just point out. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's also
I think
not
you'd do it on the party interface.
that. You mean the one on the side?
The one
panel?
on the side panel, yeah.
I might find that a little bit harder, since for that we'd have to be able to map from the display name there to finding the player, and that would be blocked by anyone who's got their private chat off. Whereas if it's an op on the actual player, which you could maybe choose not to see if you don't want to go examining your party mates, you could turn it off again, and then it would only. But then you could examine people.
But that
via
would work easily, yeah.
We're not talking about a very quick thing to do. Interfaces is always slow for us, so if we were doing that, we wouldn't be doing anything else for a day or two.
Okay. Where are we at here? Teeks says, can we see more Slayer Point milestone rewards? Currently, we only have them for 10th and 50th task sets. I'd love to see higher rewards for reaching 100, 250, 500, etc.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that's cool.
Oh, really?
How
Yeah.
far would you push it?
I
1,000.
wouldn't put too many, but
Well, you don't have to give a huge reward, but if you want to just say that was your thousandth or something,
I think that's cool.
thousandth or something, then we give you something extra, even if it's not huge extra.
I'm
I'd probably go 100, 250, 500, and 1,000.
not the biggest of fan, personally. That's just my opinion on
You're
it.
not a very big anybody.
I'm not a very big anything, that's true. Whoa.
Sorry.
Crazy. Not on the stream, Ash.
Have you just reset your streak or something?
It's not. I never reset my streak. Don't reset your streak. That's silly. I just think you already get quite a lot of points for doing 50, and obviously when you hit 100, it just so happens that 50 technically applies there as well.
It's not that many, though.
It's quite a bit, don't you
So,
think?
question. Somebody said, I just hit 500. I'm assuming he'd have to do another 500.
Unfortunately.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
We're not going to backpedal and be like, "Oh, sorry for missing out on these
Yeah.
guys." Here's your extra.
We could.
We could, but we're not
We
going
could.
to.
Don't say that. You should just say you can't do it.
Mod lazy.
Mod lazy.
But I think it's fairly all right. I think should we straw poll it and see what people think?
Okay.
It depends what numbers we put on it as well.
We have a Slayer poll coming
Wait,
up as
which
well.
are we straw
so-
polling? We're straw polling existing streaks already counting, or are we straw polling this idea as a whole?
The idea.
No, I mean the idea as a whole.
Okay.
What does 10 streaks currently give?
Oh, it depends on the Slayer master, doesn't it?
A warm fuzzy feeling.
It's,
Jed,
it's an X
Can you
times
Google this
on
stuff
it.
for us, please? He's Googling as we speak.
Your phone
He's
says
not
that. Is that the
Googling.
answer?
Chat will know.
Yeah, chat
What
will
do you get at 50 times and what do you get at 10?
Let's do Duradel as well. Let's stick with Duradel so we're not getting tons of random points.
Would you like rewards?
You get 15 times at 50 and 5 times at 10.
Yeah, this is the first thing written by Mod Reach as a content developer.
Which
So
really means
5.
it's not going to be easy to tie into.
5 and
Oh, it'd
15.
be fine.
Okay.
I helped him a
73.
little.
Good.
Right, 5.
Good,
it's
good
5,
one.
5 and 15. Okay.
420.
Hilarious me.
Hilarious.
Okay,
Every 3.
we're gonna get that straw poll in the chat for you guys. Would you like rewards or further rewards for reaching 100, 250, 500, and 1,000 streaks? Let's say.
It's good.
What
It just
those
highlights
rewards
the
will
streaking
be?
a Slayer. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I like the idea. It's a good idea. Liarzon says, can you make it so the most valuable items lost on death at Zulra are given back first instead of the food and potions?
That would be good.
I think one thing that was suggested was you just make the priestess show what she's got, and
like
you
that as
choose the
well.
ones you want and press discard if you don't want the rest.
How does it currently do it? Does it not just copy does it copy your inventory in?
Well, I
or-
think it's doing it slot by slot in the order they ended up in the holding infantry, which
okay.
is based on the order they were in your infantry, which is not all that useful.
It's interesting watching the bar go back and forth as soon as the straw poll goes live. 500, 600 votes, moving up very quickly. You guys will have another minute or two
It
to vote
doesn't
on
shock
that.
me that they're voting that way.
Yeah,
Well,
so
no, I mean,
87%.
why would they say no?
But you're not talking a massive buff. It's very infrequent.
How long does it take
If
to get
50
a
is
1,000?
But if 50 is 15, what's 100? Because it went from 5 to 15
It can be
already.
16 if we want it to be.
That's true, actually, yeah. Okay. It would depend on what we'd give as a multiplier.
Depends
I
on
think, as well.
balancing, but as per the idea, they like the idea,
Yeah.
which is cool. Did we answer the Zora question?
I did. Anyone else?
I definitely think it's something we should
believe
do.
that you did.
You sum it up
100%.
perfectly.
Yep.
An interface solves it.
Yeah. Again, interfaces are not a very quick thing to do for us. At least that one doesn't have to do very much.
Don't die. Slow Turtle says, currently in raids, shamans and mystic skeletons give you the most points, while also being the easiest. This causes people to restart raids and give you the perfect layout so you don't get bosses that are hard. Any plans to buff the amount of points you get from the bosses like Tecton and Vanguards to make them worth doing?
I think that would be a good thing to do for some of the rooms, as well as, well, those bosses and some of the other stuff like the Thieving Chest room, perhaps. But I'd also like, if the engine team's time permits, something that makes it a little bit harder to find out what's coming up on the floor below, etc.
Yeah, I imagine they'd come together. We wouldn't want to, I imagine, limit people's ability to do what they're doing. Well, we do want to do that. However,
I think it'd be a lot easier for a start to change the points of these various NPCs, regardless of whether or not we can get the engine feature.
it's fantastic.
What are you doing?
What could I possibly be doing?
I don't know.
I'm drinking tea.
I think you just sat there, really.
I keep getting caught off guard, by the way, because we've got 3 cameras back up and working for the first time in a couple of weeks, and like mod run and keep swapping them, so I keep doing this as if, oh, there we go, and we're back there. Oh, and we're back. Okay, all right.
Fast transitions.
This
Okay.
is quite comfy, you know.
Should we
Is
go
it?
and see what Ghost is up to?
Can we do that?
Oh yeah, can we do it? Okay. Oh, okay.
If Mod Ghost is ready.
To Jagged, and I'm just developing it a bit further by kind of like accentuating the silhouette. For those people that haven't been watching the stream, this is kind of like the Inferno equivalent of Jad, where it's kind of like an armored Jad, where it's kind of been developed in the depth of the Inferno, so it's a lot stronger than your regular Jad, and it's made to look a lot more aggressive as well, while still sort of following the same beats of the original model. So if I just get rid of that out of the picture, just so we can focus on this one. So if I just show you this NPC in 3ds Max, you can see this is where we started off with it, and we basically tried to keep the sort of like amphibian reptilian aspects of it, like the tail that kind of throws projectiles at you, and the spikes on the back, they're interpreted here. The spikes on the front of the nose are interpreted here as well. The eyes are roughly in the same place. The mouth is roughly the same. The kind of positioning of the arms is kind of, it's a lot more anatomically correct, but it's still kind of roughly the same. And it's also got 3 claws on its hands as well. So it's trying to like capture the same sort of characteristics, but kind of give them a kind of fresher look, whilst kind of still keeping that old school vibe. So the Inferno should feel like a direct sequel to the Fight Caves, but be a lot more challenging. And probably when you go back over the guys, Kieran can kind of run you through any aspect of that. He's been on the live stream as well today. If you want to watch the rest of the live stream, you can watch it on YouTube, where sort of Mod Archie will be putting it up on YouTube tomorrow. So I'll probably hand you back over to the guys and we can check this out after the Q&A. I'll be running this stream up until 8 o'clock this evening, when you'll have a finished NPC, and the polls for the Inferno will be opening up tomorrow for you, and again you can watch this on YouTube tomorrow as well. Cheers.
Fantastic.
Well done, Gareth. Well done. It looks great.
Would clap, but
We
I've lost
clap,
my
yeah.
arms. Okay. We memed you. So one mod goes at 8 p.m. By the way, that's 2 hours farther than the stream goes. So we end at 6 p.m. here. Moving on though. Oh, actually, you know what? I wanted to ask a couple Inferno questions. Let's do those now. Well, it's relevant. Don't know what was covered when you were answering questions on
Well,
the
you
stream.
talked about the content as a whole, really.
So I think the main question we were seeing on YouTube, at least, was people concerned saying, "Why are you repolling this? We already voted no to this. What's going on?"
So when we first offered it, we talked about we've only got a limited amount of time to develop this. We're going to have to go fairly light on graphics. Just before that, sorry, we first pulled it as an expansion to the Fight Caves itself, and you'd defeat Jad, follow on from Jad, take on some more waves and a final boss. People didn't like that, so then we changed it to be...
They almost liked it, to be fair.
Sorry?
It was close to passing, wasn't
it got
it?
72%.
Yeah.
But what we said is, look, we can do it as a separate caves, but we have limited time. We'd have to do it with fairly cut back graphics and a lot of reuse assets. And people said no, they wanted it to be a bit more of a bigger piece of content. And so we took that feedback on board and said at the time we could offer it in a year or two. And now we're at a good point to offer it. And originally we were going to offer it on Zaya, now we're doing it in the Zar City. But yeah, that's why we want to offer it again, because we're taking on your feedback.
It's a really good point, to be honest. One of the biggest things we learned from pulling it the first time was all the people saying no, and then their reasoning for saying no, which we've done our best to say, okay, well, this should solve that. And now it's not on Zaya. A lot of people were concerned about that. And there's been little player design with the map and the city. So it's come a long way. Pretty confident it'll do well.
It really is nothing like the thing that was polled before.
Yeah,
No, it's called the Inferno. It's essentially the same thing. It's a Fight Cave sequel, but the design fundamentally is rather different.
Yeah.
Also, I believe we were originally offering a new best in slot magic ranged and melee cape, which did scare some people. Now we've toned it down to just the one single melee cape.
I mean, if it hit 50%, for example, the last time it was polled, I imagine...
Rather more than that, in fact.
No, if it hit 50%, for argument's sake, I imagine maybe we probably wouldn't have repolled it. But 72% is very close, and the issues that people had were things that we have now been able to address, like we said. I think we've ascertained it's not the same gameplay, it's not the same rewards, and it's not even the same scale of content. I think it does warrant being polled, even if something rather different but with a similar name got polled before. And
as for the question, why are you working on it if you haven't polled it already? It'd be a lot better if you had an idea of what you were voting on, seeing Mod Ghost work on stuff like this.
That's something we found with a lot of polls where people have said, well, I don't know whether I want to vote for it because I can't see it. I want to know what it looks like. I don't want to know what I do with it. That was a lot of the feedback about sailing, in fact, where we'd put out some pictures of, guys on boats, and a boat near an island.
It was tough.
But it was slightly lacking in detail, and people reasonably said they'd like us to be able to give a bit more up front before they committed to wanting it in their game.
And it's something I've been talking about on the stream with Gareth earlier, that Mod Ghost, that for us to sell it to the community and tell them what it is, we need to know what it is. And we really need to get a good understanding, because then explaining it to someone who has no idea becomes easier. And that means we need the full design. We've got the full design. We need to make sure we can make it. So it takes a little bit of prototyping sometimes to get that. We need an art style roughly in place so we can see where we're going to go, how long we've got to make it, and what we can do with it. And like this stream right now is just to show you what it could look like, essentially. And it gives you all the things you need to be able to make a proper decision on what you're voting on. And
gathering a lot of solid community feedback. That boss, of course, had a lot of input.
Yeah.
Or that demi-boss, or whatever we're going to call that thing, the 360s or whatever they're going to be.
I'd hate to run a yes/no poll on a lack of information. Yeah.
So you get to follow us along the process. And do we have an estimated time we want to poll it?
I believe we're putting the poll live tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So you have the dev blog. We did a second dev blog based on your feedback. You are now seeing some of the assets that Mod Ghost is making. I think we're in a position to be able to put the poll live and see what people think.
Fantastic. All right, look forward to that poll tomorrow. And again, Mod Ghost will be live after the Q&A to answer any more questions and continue his design. Moving on to the questions here. We're all the way down here from Zokan saying, will you be adding milestone capes in the near future?
We were talking, me and Maz were talking about this the other week with looms, because we were talking about how useless looms are in game. And then we went, what did we do to make looms better before? And the two things that have been added to a loom previously have been a seaweed net, which holds seaweed. This exists in the other game. And we went, okay, that was a thing, but seaweed it's kind of useful.
What's a milestone cape?
The other thing was a milestone cape. So a milestone cape is, if I have level 10 in all of my skills, I can create a cape that shows I have level 10 in all of my skills, and level 20 in all my skills, and so on and so forth, and it went up and up.
Oh,
I don't know.
I was maxed. That's no wonder I didn't.
Oh, you know, like the blue one was the 91, and people were like, that's really cool and whatnot. Like, I quite like milestone capes. I don't know if other people do. I'd be interested in seeing if people did. I mean, I wouldn't mind another straw poll on that, because I like milestone capes.
Well, you heard it here first, Mod. Wolf likes milestone capes. Yeah, look, can we stop all that?
Well, I don't know. I think the chat's pretty
The
anonymous.
chat's
Never
on the
mind.
nose.
Never
Take
mind.
it back. Quick, take it back. You were joking.
Yeah, JK, lol. No, but it's fine. Looms can be useless. Whatever.
Wow, lol. Mud Wolf is out of touch with the community.
So out of touch. Fire that RS3 mod.
We'll
Grr.
have to give them another use, I think. Maybe that's
Yeah.
seaweed net.
Yeah.
What about the what's the name of them? 5-year cape, something of that
Veteran
nature.
cape.
Veteran cape. That's the one.
The thing about those is, since so many people who played RuneScape back in the old school days, like 2004 through 2007, they weren't all able to use the same account when they came back in 2013. So next year, though, Old School will have been around for 5 years, and I would rather like to be able to recognise people who've been in Old School since we came out in February 2013. Even if we can't do like the proper 15-year thing, because it'd be massively unfair to the very, very large number of people who just couldn't use the same account from back in the day for whatever
As if
reason.
Old School's nearly 5 years old.
Let's see. How many day oneers do we have in the chat? I know I was one.
Put your hand in the air if you're
Yeah, say one if
Day
you were in
one.
day one.
one.
Type 1 in the chat, yeah.
That was a 1.
That was the one as well.
Oh, there's a guy from day 73.
I would... I think that, yeah. It would be nice to have a 5-year cap. Yes, I agree.
Cool. All right. Well, we can't actually judge feedback. We just know how many of them are in the chat, or at least liars. But
Mod Mac K is one, it seems.
if we pulled that one, I think
Which
that'd have a
episode?
bit better of a chance.
He was a CM then.
Where have we gone to here? Iron Strict says, would you be interested in offering a hard mode of raids with better point scaling and increased difficulty?
Ideally, if we could get the point scaling right in the first place, then that would be a harder mode of raids. And for all the point scaling, well, the difficulty scaling is not as it maybe should be. Having an alternate mode where we try to get it about right doesn't feel like the right solution. It feels like we just change it.
Yeah, it comes down to saying, well, okay, what's the average raid completion time right now? And if we said, let's aim to double that by making the bosses more difficult and the puzzles more challenging, etc., it's just going to come down to which one's going to make me more money per hour, and then they're just going to do that one.
Difficulty is a hard thing to get right in Old School, I feel, because what do you do? I mean, you can change the stats of the creatures, so it could just hit you for more damage. Is that the hardness you want, or does that just feel arbitrary? Or
That's
can
the
you
thing.
just extend the lifespan of a creature and it takes longer to kill?
Which we did, in fact, do. That's the
Yeah.
one thing that does scale linearly, which is why those people who've been trying to using alts to get an extra long raid, they get a very long raid. It doesn't, however, make the things... It makes them have slightly more defence, by the way, but not massively much more. And in terms of their aggressive stats, making that scale up with the party size or party... well, that's not really even appropriate, because if it hits one person, doesn't matter if they've got 99
It doesn't really scale linearly either. It's
Yeah, so we could certainly look at making their defence stats scale a bit more, but I wouldn't go touching their damage output unless we tried to convert every attack into a multi-target attack.
and even with defense, it's like, what, you arbitrarily hit more zeros. It doesn't really inherently make it feel more difficult.
That really doesn't
It
feel
just
like
makes
something
it
Tecton
take
needs.
longer, doesn't it? It's mechanics that are harder to avoid, I think, is generally where
Yeah.
difficulty it could come from.
Of course, what one can do with the laser crabs, the room with the crabs wandering around, the jewelled ones with the bouncy light thing that goes off them. I did work out that when I first wrote it, I could add extra boulders in the way, so you had to ricochet the thing round more of the corners to make it hit the target crystals. But I thought that might be just plain nasty, so I didn't do it. But I could have done.
Yeah. I think a hard mode would be cool, but like Kieran said, it's like what I would like it so, for example, in a hard mode, Tecton has an additional attack, right? Like the skeletal mages have a different attack. They can do certain things that they can't in the regular
It feels a
version
lot
of
better
raids,
if that's
right?
what you do with a hardware, I think. It's more
sounds like-
polished.
Of course, yeah. making alternate forms of all those bosses, on the other hand, is not going to be a light
Yeah,
job,
it's not light.
given how long it took to write those in the first place.
I'd almost rather
Get the scaling right.
Oh, I was going to say another.
Harder raid.
I was going to say if I was going to add to mechanics, I'd rather add other bosses or even another raid somewhere
Yeah.
else. Alternatively, if we're going to put that time into it.
There's been a fair bit of interest in having a third floor below the, you know, the upper depths and the lower depth, the more lower depth.
That's another way we could do a hard mode, actually.
So
On a hard
defeat-
mode, you get an extra floor with different rooms.
You defeat Ulm, you go down another floor, and there's 10 Zulras.
Olm's foot.
And then what happens? You get like 2 mil at the end of the raid for free.
You don't win. There's 10 Zulras.
6 jets.
It doesn't matter. You don't win. That being said, actually, what are your thoughts on either...
You can find the bottom of the well of goodwill.
Oh,
It's got to go somewhere.
all the loot. Would you prefer to see an expansion to the existing raids or a brand new raid somewhere else?
I want a new raids.
They both have different scales of projects.
Yeah.
Like, a new raid, you're talking an extra massive project. It's going to take months of development.
Yeah.
Expanding the current raid, you could be talking more of a few weeks to add some rooms.
And also,
A lot of
the
people
number of
saying new.
rewards required. If you want a whole new set of raids, then you'd better want a whole new set of rewards from them.
Yeah.
And couldn't help noticing that a lot of the stuff we offered before, you weren't all that keen on, which is why we went through so many iterations and ended up with a very, very curiously mixed bag of stuff. If, on the other hand, you've got ideas for items, lots of items, that you'd really like coming into the game that would get through a poll, then sure, we could look at doing yet more raids. Lots of the code's adaptable anyway.
Yeah.
Worth pointing in mind that just because we're talking about this doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, in 3 months we're going to offer a new raid, but rather...
Because they know
wouldn't
full
be
well that what
possible.
we're actually offering is in 3 months, Inferno.
Yes.
It's a good point, but let's just assume we are however long down the road and it's time to consider something like this. It's a very good point. By far our biggest concern is the rewards, and some people are very, very, very negative to seeing anything new at all coming back into Old School, and so they would just vote no to everything. It's like, it's a very tough battle.
We were working at the rewards for raids for over 2 months, polling different things. And eventually, I think we've got a reasonable set of rewards that have worked pretty well to make raids worth doing. But it wasn't easy. And to do another one with maybe another 6 or 7 rewards is hard.
You'd have to ask yourselves whether the question of power creep has been settled to the community's satisfaction.
Yes.
As of last November, it really, really hadn't.
I mean, or we just say, for every cool idea of an item or something that they want coming into the game for the next year, we say, yes, we like that idea, but we'll hold on to it until we do raids, and then it'll be a reward from raids. You won't get it until then.
I imagine the stuff that would be more likely to pass now, we've essentially filled in a lot of the empty gaps of tiers.
Yeah.
The next set of rewards, I imagine, that would ever come from some high-level PVM content would likely be like the Dragon Hunter crossbow that fills a niche. I can't imagine us going up another step of tier for quite like a little while. Like, we already have 75 pretty much set now. So I would imagine that the next kind of stuff would be like Dragon Hunter crossbow for different things. But prove me wrong. I'm always
But that's
proving
the
We'll
thing.
find out.
Things
It's-
that fit a niche are limited when it comes to raids, which really warrants epic rewards
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
That's what's hard. Raids is the sort of thing that does warrant the next set of gear up. And that's when it becomes challenging, because we are aware power creep's an issue. We don't want to inherently make everything else worthless. It's tricky. It's a hard thing for us to solve, and we'd love the community to be a big part of helping us come up with new rewards for that sort of thing as well.
We do, of course, have the option of making new items come in as upgrades to existing ones. Of course, that means you get a really odd piece of content where, let's say, for example, you're exploring pyramid-themed dungeons around Menethos. Just throw an idea out there. Sorry.
Oh,
And,
sorry.
Oops. I've got big boots here.
Brody died. Feels
Aw.
Did he? Oh,
Well,
right.
they've lost.
F for respects in the chat.
So let's say for a minute you're exploring, pyramid-themed dungeons somewhere around Menethos, as one does, and they're like raiding dungeons generated for you on the fly. And you come out with a strange device which, if you stick it on your, armadillo chest plate, turns it into, I don't know, the Devourer's chest plate, and which has slightly better stats and doesn't devalue your armadillo chest plate. Why in the heck would it do that? I mean, we can get away with one or two, but it starts getting really, really contrived after a while, and I hesitate to say private server-ish.
Yeah.
We do like doing upgrades. It served us very well for a lot of content we've got already, but they got to have at least some plausible reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, that might mean that if what you got through that frozen door in the God Wars dungeon was a network of exploring tunnels, that might be interesting.
I think it's a lot easier when it comes to weapons and tools and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Doing it with an armor set is challenging.
It doesn't have to be. We're staying on this topic a while. We're going to get back to the questions, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a single item like a new sword or what have you. It could maybe unlock a dungeon underneath, which happens to be a nice, maybe not best in slot, but agility course or something of that nature, or like the tormented gorillas. Mind you, they do drop something, but you get what I'm saying. Like it can be something other than just the boss saying, "Here's the new best in slot thing." So,
For what it's worth, back on the question of raids versus expanding the current one, I don't see a reason why both couldn't happen.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree
Like
with that.
a new raid room, one smaller raid room could be, you're talking about a week maybe,
best in slot agility, whatever.
depending on what it is.
Okay.
But
Sorry, guys, we went off a little bit there. Let's get back into these
I was
questions.
interested, but okay.
But
That
there's
was,
your
it
title
was
for
a
your
good
stream, at
discussion,
least.
to be fair.
Raids 2 expansion. There's your clickbait right there.
A lot of raids today. Galaxy says, can the AGS special attack be able to strike flying opponents such as Avian Seas and Kriara? Since you leap into the air, it makes sense because it's an Armadillo item.
why does the halberd not work?
Because it's not an Armadillo item and you don't twirl.
But
Well, it's long.
yeah, you can prod them with the halberd.
Kriara is a massive bird that flies about this high off
He's
the
like
ground.
so-
It's a fair question. Why doesn't the spear work? Why doesn't... yeah. Armadillo.
I personally wouldn't mind
should
if the
probably
AGS
check this
spec
guy's
worked
account
and
to
that
see
sort
how
of
many
thing.
AGS he
I
has.
agree. But it's weird. I mean, yeah, sure.
I would even have halberds work, because even with halberds working, you're not going to go and use them.
Whoa, I think that's a bit more contentious. Can you take a crystal halberd to Armadillo?
I've never really tried killing birds because why the heck would I do that? But I'm pretty sure that not many people do it by getting a pointy stick and jumping up and down, poking at the sky and trying to kill pigeons that way.
I'm also not sure they do it by throwing chin chompers.
Yeah, I know these squirrel things.
No, I throw
Pick up
chin
a
jumpers at
squirrel.
things that are near
Yeah,
the
next
bird
to
I'm
it.
aiming for.
It's true that a hand grenade would be a curious way of going bird hunting in the...
He tried to
It's a
time
pretty-
the explosion right in
In
the
all
air.
fairness, it's pretty effective. I can't imagine it going too wrong. You're getting a kill.
Of course, we don't also do a lot of hunting via magic, so... I mean, for real-life creatures.
Right. That's kind of a no, isn't it?
Yeah, most of the birds I've seen killed around Cambridge have been killed by actual vans driving over them by mistake.
We can argue about what makes sense, but the boss was designed to be done with out melee.
Yeah.
So
It sounds a little weird to add that now. NY says, is it possible to make it so that when shift is held down, items cannot be dragged? I think he's talking
Yes,
about when
engine
in
job.
the bank. So make shift. Oh no, sorry. When dropping items. So make shift click dropping items easier.
I think it's pretty easy already, but we'd have to get the engine team to change that, I'm afraid. It's not something we can control our side in that interface at the moment.
Okay. I think we have confirmation. Buddy did die rip. Oh wow.
A picture. There we go.
Is that 73?
No, I think it's 35. Is that the new
Have we
meme?
killed this meme yet? That's good. Justin says, can you make shift clicking in bank deposit all of the item and reverse for when you click on a stack of items in the bank?
Again, the thing the engine team gave
Yeah.
us works on items in your inventory, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It doesn't, unfortunately, do a whole lot of other stuff like the ones they're asking about at the moment. We can, of course, go back to them and ask a few more things, but their time is a little bit limited, it seems. And we've had quite a lot of them out of them already lately.
Okay. Storm says, where's the Inferno pole and Slayer pole? We answered saying,
Inferno is coming tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. I believe the intention is to do the Slayer pull as the next one following that. But we'll be getting a dev blog out for that beforehand and everything, so expect to see it soon. But the Inferno one's tomorrow.
Cool.
I look forward to the Slayer one.
Yeah, me too.
I believe
forward to the Inferno.
I believe after Slayer pull, we'll be looking at getting Fossil Island pulled.
Naughty says, are there any Easter eggs in Old School that have never been found?
Almost guaranteed.
Crack the clue.
That's not so much an Easter egg as we've told them about it.
What was that?
There is Easter eggs everywhere in our game, and people just put them in and just don't give hints. Because you know some people put Easter eggs in and give hints.
Have you put any Easter eggs in the
I
game?
have.
Have you put any Easter eggs in the game?
I did the one about the mightiest tree in the forest.
Oh, that's kind of known, isn't it?
Oh, it's well known.
Oh,
Right?
not in Old School. No, sorry, I lied. When we get a particular feature in Old School one day, I would like to try.
Technically, the thing last week involving the bird's nest sounds was
Oh,
your Easter egg, even
yes.
if I typed it.
I did actually,
And then
yeah.
I
I got
spoiled
the
it.
Armadillo crossbow spec when the bird dropped.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go.
Bird's nest
I
drop.
can't think of any off the top of my head.
Well, we know Mod Alfie, our old artist, tried to sneak some stuff in.
That wasn't so much
It wasn't.
sneaky.
Yes, it was pretty much
Pretty
blatantly.
obviously.
You just navigate the world map and you can see
Is
it.
Mod Ghost
The,
still on comms?
Oh, on Wintertodd launch, we had
The Winter Toad.
the hidden guy to the left and the west.
Ah,
The hidden
that was a good
grave.
one.
Yes, I kind of photoshopped the world map so he didn't show up on it until the next render.
Mod Ghost. Have you put any Easter eggs in the game the players don't know about yet?
No.
He's lying.
The kind of Easter eggs that I enjoy doing, I can't do in Old School right now because we need engine work, and for the sake of an Easter egg, that's never going to happen. However, the ones that I quite like doing are, if I'm wearing this particular item, my examine changes on. So what are you doing, Kieran?
Nothing.
I quite like changing examines depending on what you're wearing. That's my personal thing.
Okay. Rusty says, can you add medium clues back? Where's the other half of that question?
Back.
They should,
I don't
they should be in
remember-
the game right now.
I think he was asking to Black Knights because the guards are overcrowded. I only copied half that question, but
Black Knights are quite low level.
Well, guards are quite low
Yeah.
level.
Do they drop them or just pickpocket? No, you kill them for them.
You kill
yes.
black
Yeah.
guards.
Oh yeah, I'd happily have them on Black Knights.
Why not?
That's fine.
It'll give you something to do while you're getting your White Knight
Are
rank
they on
as
White
well.
Knights?
I don't think
Who
so.
kills those?
Maybe.
You don't kill White
They're a
Knights.
nightmare to kill. That's all I know.
They're-
There's like two of them
Did
wandering
you,
around.
oh,
the
I thought you were memeing. They're a
I was-
nightmare to kill. Okay.
I don't get it.
I
It
didn't get
says
that.
night in. Never mind.
Oh,
There's an actual music track called that in RuneScape. I think we have it in Old School even.
what, Nightmare with K?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Speaking of White Knights,
That's from the King's Ransom quest, if I recall correctly.
Kieran, why are you sat like this?
because why not?
I don't know. It's just really, it's really odd. We have a sofa with a back on it.
Would you like a cushion?
I'm just not
You
going to
would
stop
like a
this
cushion.
one.
I don't. Okay.
I'm good.
What's your next question, if you have time?
Oh. Why are there no superior wyverns or Turoths?
Well, you know, we never really set out to do all of them. Just
No.
a lot of them.
We didn't do. Yeah, Ash said it.
There's no
The,
superior feeder spider either.
Turoths, the superior Turoth is a Kuresk.
And wyverns, they're already.
They don't really need a
Yeah,
superior version. They're already
fair.
quite a high level monster as is.
And quite generous.
Okay. Can you remove getting duplicates for the rogue outfit like you did with the lumberjack outfit?
It can be done, yes.
I would be in favour.
I
For
hate
the same
things that
reason.
do that.
Yeah, I
The
don't like
lumberjack was a
dupes.
rather special case because the way that thing had been written was, well, bizarre. With the rogues, you've got a fairly even chance of getting any of them, and you know, it's like rolling a dice to get the number you want enough times. With lumberjack, it seemed to be honestly biased in a bizarre direction, so that some things were very,
It
very
still
rare
didn't
indeed.
duplicate check.
I don't know what it was trying to do, to be honest.
No,
It did
I haven't seen the old code.
things,
No, so.
Lots of things.
I'm going to grab this one from the chat, actually. Can you add West Arty teleport with medium or hard diary requirements like Varrock to Grand Exchange and Camelot to Sears Village?
Do you think somebody grows a lot of cats? Or
Yeah.
maybe has dark beasts a lot?
There is
There is a teleport there already, right?
a West Ardy teleport on the Necromancy spellbook.
And the diary gives 2 teleports to different locations in Ardoin with Ardoin Cloak. There's the monastery at the south and to the north. There's, don't remind me, the farm patch, the allotment. There we go.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the main Ardoin teleport's probably closer to West Ardoin than that, given that you want to go through Edmund's house, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I think considering the diary already gives 2, and the regular teleport takes you to the east, and the necromancy takes you to the west,
I'd happily have one. I'd have an alteration that takes you to like the castle.
you think
Because
so?
it's quite
That's quite
far
nice.
east. that Ardy teleport.
I like
I think
that.
the castle is fairly nice. It'd take you to West Ardy with a short walk. Maybe it's the best of both worlds. And there's a lot of stuff in West Ardy that you might want to get to occasionally as well.
Yeah.
Cats.
Okay.
No, sorry, not West Ardy, West East Ardy. You'd be near
yes,
the
that.
zoo and that sort of thing.
You once said that the seasonal system in Deadman mode would make it so you could try different stuff each season, but usually it's only a small update you do, and in some cases revert it, such as no trading. My point is, could we see more radical changes to the Deadman season to mold the perfect game mode? I'd love to see no trading come back.
So, I certainly think that's the future of what we will do with it, that we'll have a few different alterations that can really give the game mode a different feel each season. So it's not just going to feel like, oh, it's the same thing again with this small issue fixed. But at the point as it is currently, basically each season we've been trying to fix the main issues with the game mode and what it still has.
Yeah.
Especially with the finale as well. Like that's went under fairly radical changes this season, and we even did a beta with the players a couple of weeks back. Tune in on Saturday because hopefully that'll be damn good to watch.
7 p.m. GMT, twitch.tv/RuneScape.
Sell out, yes.
Good man.
Yeah.
But
Plug.
definitely, I think that's got to be the way we go. And once we got it in a good spot, then we can start tinkering with it and seeing and mixing it up and really making it good, entertaining content to watch.
The thing is, not everybody plays Deadman mode, which we need to remember. So when we do say we're going to take a week of Ashes time, for example, to say the players want this quite radical change for Deadman mode, it's going to require some time away from your other stuff. It becomes a bit of an issue. And there are always complications such as no trading. People could just kill somebody and say, okay, thanks for this stuff. Like, there are ways around it. We're more open now, I think, to doing changes, and if it doesn't work, we can simply revert it back, but we'd rather just get it perfect and leave it be.
Yeah.
The question is a perfect Deadman mode that pleases everybody and not just a majority is near impossible.
It's difficult, and I think the biggest issue is the boxing stuff and planning in single way combat. And these are very, very difficult problems with ourselves because our combat system just hasn't been set up in such a way that these are problems that are really solvable.
Right.
And it's working out how to minimize it as much as we can.
Boxing, we're currently dealing with a lot of just players reporting and sending in evidence, and then we double check things on the back end, and we can take care of it like that. Once we get out like the message that it's against the rules, typically people learn they should stop.
Yeah.
Because anybody can download screen capture software or print screen or whatever, and then send a tweet or report. So I think that is becoming less and less of an issue each season. What the current issues are, what the bigger issues are at the moment, there's not nearly as much as there used to be. So we're getting there.
I think we've improved it a lot with the changes.
So question, Mod Archie.
Yeah.
What streamers are coming to the event?
Oh, okay. Yes, we're going to have MMORPGRS, Curtis. We're going to have Sick Nerd. We're going to have Nightinator on stage. Mm-hmm. So I know Sick Nerd died last night. I don't know when the last time Curtis and Knight died, but they should hopefully, the three of them, make it pretty far. Last time, I know at least Nightinator made it all the way up until, well, she made it
A fundamental
far.
error.
She made it pretty far. Did she run into the Safe Zone Skull? Something of that
No,
nature.
She went and sat in the cupboard in Draenor Manor with the where I think the pipe turns up, and died of fog.
Well,
Yeah. Well, we've got a different
That's
design for that
unfortunate.
this time, so players will be told you do not want to be standing here, and if you ignore that warning and carry on standing there, then you will die, and you know why.
you're going to have plenty of warnings, all
So-
kinds of messages on your screen.
Hopefully that'll be a lot clearer for people.
Yeah.
And yes, as Jed says, don't go in the cupboard like that.
It's going to be, unless you are intentionally running back into the fog, it's near impossible to die to the fog this time, or to the magical mist.
Yeah.
What do we
The
call
blue damaging
I suggested
vapor.
smog.
it? Smog.
Yes, like smoky fog.
Yeah, so while on screen, it essentially still somewhat looks like fog. It's not really fog in the same sense because the fog isn't moving in anymore. It doesn't move in slowly. Instead, it's like a barrier coming in occasionally. And if you're stood in where the barrier is going to come into, you die instantly. Now, obviously, it's not a hard barrier. We can't just dynamically spawn like blocking fence to stop you from going through it. If you walk back into where it's been barriered off, it won't instantly kill you. It just slowly increments damage. But if you're stood there, when it jumps forward again, you will die.
Yeah. So essentially, wherever you are standing in the final hour, you'll have a message on your screen that won't go away, telling you whether you're going to be safe when the timer hits 0. Say that timer hits 0 and it says you're going to be in a safe zone. You're fine. You don't need to move. It'll eventually, slowly but surely push you to the final area, which is Anakarl, which will be guided by nice little orbs, I think the Nightmare Zone ones, saying you are safe if you're within these, and if you try to run out of those, you're going to die. So that's all there is to it. It's going to be an incredible final hour. You won't want to miss it.
Like that, as I said, we ran it in a beta and it worked very, very well. And I don't think anyone really had an issue working out what they were meant to be doing.
Yeah, if the thing on your screen says, do not stay here or you will die, do not stay there or you will die.
I've just realized we're already past 6. Holy cow.
Oh.
I think we had a couple of images, maybe 1 or 2. A couple of suggestions I wanted to try to get out if we could.
I'm planning on staying behind a little bit anyway because we have a pub now inside of the office, so I'll be going there after this.
There you go.
For Nerveless, who asked whether the magic secateurs work while they're in your inventory, no, you have to equip them.
There you go. I think we just have the 1 image. Yeah. Baratho says, melee has leaf-bladed spear and battle axe. Range has broad arrows and bolts. Magic only has the dart. Can we see a new, higher-level version of the magic dart? So it says, I believe it's an 18 max hit plus 10% of your magic level for damage bonus there at the bottom. What do you guys think?
I like that. I like that spell.
I'd like to make the Slayer staff more useful.
Yeah, me too.
Somebody do the paint me meme.
Why is like one of your French girls? Why is the Slayer Slayer Dart? That's what I'm going for. Why is it so commonly used with melee armor comparatively to other magic attacks? Has it got a regular higher base max hit? You know, when we were talking about that other spell, what was it?
Ivan Blast?
Yeah, Ivan's Blast. I think because that has a naturally higher max hit at lower levels. And I imagine that Slayer Dart may... Oh, all right, are we doing this? Okay. And I imagine that maybe the Slayer Dart might as well, which is why people use it when not wearing magic stuff.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the thing about the Slayer Dart is its max damage scales based on your magic level. So that gives it a bit of an advantage if you're a fairly high-level player.
Okay.
And if you don't need the accuracy bonuses, I guess you can get away with a lot more.
Cool.
Well...
We like the idea, is the TLDR there.
I think we're very relaxed about it.
That being said, guys, don't go anywhere. The stream is not ending, just the Q&A, as Mod Ghost will continue with his design stream, designing some content for the upcoming Inferno, or the soon-to-be-pulled tomorrow Inferno. Don't miss that. In addition, of course, the Dead Man Tournament is going to be on Saturday, 7 p.m. GMT on this Twitch channel. You won't want to miss that. That being said, that's about all we have to say. Thank you for watching. Don't go anywhere.